Welcome back, everyone. We are here today with episode 3256 of the Cabral Concept. I'll be answering about 5 to 6 of the community's questions today and another 5 or 6 tomorrow. I appreciate all your support of the show. It really does mean the world to me. I'm so excited for a brand new year here in the show. And that is all about you. It really is. I appreciate your listens, your supports, your downloads, your shares. If you haven't already followed along, please do follow along. It's going to be a wild ride this year. We're going to get a lot done. Hopefully, we're going to help a whole lot of people. So let's start by answering your questions. Each and every week, I answer, as I said, about 10 to 12 questions, just in the order they come in. So if you have a question, feel free to ask it on a daily basis at cabralsupportgroup.com. We'll find you the answer you need. And then if you want me to answer it live on the podcast, feel free to go to stevencabral.com/askcabral. There's no charge at all. We would, of course, love you to review the Cabral Concept on your favorite media player. And if you've read The Rain Barrel Effect, I would love you to review that on Amazon as well. All right, let's dive into the show. First question is from Samantha. Samantha says, "Hi, Dr. Cabral. My 76-year-old father recently underwent a diagnosis of bladder polyps, which will be removed surgically. Fortunately, they appear to be benign. I'm interested in learning about preventative measures to reduce the risk of future occurrences. Thank you for your time and expertise." All right, so I know that you've heard me say this before, but when we look at polyps or we look at anything that can start to grow as we're older, we always want to look at it as some type of inflammatory property. Now, we all know that inflammation isn't a root cause. So then we say, okay, it's inflammatory. Now, what's causing the inflammation? Is it poor diet? Is it too much alcohol? Is it too sedentary of a lifestyle? Too high of omega-6s? Not enough methyl Bs? Not enough antioxidants? So when I tell you, it's like, oh, well, what to do? There is no silver bullet. I just want you to know that because I like to be very honest with people. But we can tell you exactly what your father needs, just like we can tell anybody exactly what they need through the power of functional medicine at-home lab testing. So we run the big 5 labs or even just the vitamin tox test starter kit. And then we look at all the vitamin and mineral and different deficiencies and we replace those. And then we find out different toxicities and we remove those. And we help people work on their diet and we get them walking. Like at 76, if they're not exercising, it's okay. Start with walking. So those are all the things we do. Anti-inflammatory nutrition plan, cutting down on the alcohol, making sure someone's not smoking, all of those things. And you know what? People feel years younger. All right. So everything, all the labs that I talk about here today, any different protocol, those will all be at stevencabral.com/shop. That takes you right over to Equilife. All right. Anonymous is up next. "Hi, Dr. C. I have an odd problem that the doctors I've been seeing haven't been able to answer yet. Around September 2023, I noticed fast and dramatic changes to what seems like muscle tonality around my brows. My brows now look receded, flat, and less prominent. My nose seems a bit more bulbous. I originally thought that my hollowing was due to a unilateral ptosis repair in upper bleph I got in April of 2023. But after speaking with many surgeons, this would not be the case as the loss is on both eyes. The only thing I can say is that I started eating meat again in September 2023 after not eating meat for around 3 to 4 years prior. This is the only change I made to my diet. I stopped eating meat 2.5 weeks and my brow position seems a bit improved. Not sure, but it hasn't helped the volume loss. Thanks." Okay. So, well, let's get to work. Let's see what's going on. So, for people that don't know, I want to make sure that you kind of understand what's going on here. So we've got the eyebrows. That's what they're talking about right here. And then they're talking about the nose being more bulbous. That means the round part of your nose, beside your nostrils right in the middle, can start to get a little larger. And that can get larger sometimes as we get older, but definitely with increased alcohol. So I don't know, Anonymous, if you're consuming any alcohol, but alcohol is very detrimental to a bulbous nose. Okay. The next part, they talked about hollowing. And I'm assuming that means like maybe below the eyes or maybe on top of the eyes. Now, hollowing happens. I have a friend who's a dermatologist, amazing dermatologist. And when I was just chatting with her, she was saying that a lot of people that she sees in her practice who were in their 40s and 50s, I don't know how old you are, start to lose a lot of their cheek below their eye. And it makes them look like they've got more under eye bags, or they've got circles or things like that, because they're losing the fat. The fat is literally dropping in the face, or they're losing it as they get older, and it kind of everything moves down with gravity. And she's found that for people who exercise more, even though it's obviously great for them for anti-aging and all that, they don't have a lot of that fat. And so it makes them look a little bit more hollow. Okay, so the next part is the ptosis repair. So ptosis is like one eye is smaller than the other, or the eyes start to droop a little bit, and the eyebrow can kind of fall down because the muscle begins to become a little elongated that holds that in place, right? So it either gets weaker or just weaker and elongated over time. That's again, I'm not an expert in ophthalmology or eye surgery, but this is how I know. And then upper bleph is when people's they get saggy eyelids and they get them brought back up for cosmetic or other reasons if it's starting to like kind of hang over their eyelashes. All right. So I kind of did a big explanation there. It's like its own little show. But all that to say that if you added meat and then you removed it and you started to get better results, it could be the meat. Is there a reason that it should be the meat? Not that I know of, unless that it was increasing your arachidonic acid levels, which was increasing inflammation, which was then causing these issues for you. Because remember, there is something called bioindividuality. You may have just been very susceptible to this. And so like dark meat chicken or chicken with skin or red meat, especially like fatty or red meat, can be high in arachidonic acid. Now, if it's grass-fed, grass-finished, it's obviously better and it's lower, but yet they have a lower fat meat, and that would be helpful. But if you took it away and you added it back, that might be your answer. Now, you wrote in about a month and a half ago, so I get back to people when the queue ends up with your name, but I want you to at least think about that. If that is the case, I would also add more omega-3s to your diet through wild salmon, wild trout, sardines, mackerel, anchovies, and or 2 grams of daily omega-3 support each day to at least help combat with some of that inflammation. All right. Hopefully that was helpful, at least kind of moving you in that direction. Lauren's up next. Hi, Dr. Ball. I'm signing up to be an IHP and taking your program. Excited to have you, Lauren. That's great to hear. Lauren says, I'm very excited, but I do have a question regarding my own health. I have a heart condition that presents as SVT. I've had this in 7th grade and have done every test under the sun, but my original cardiologist said he wanted to put me on depression meds. Lost lots of confidence in doctors because I'm not depressed. This was 8 years ago. Question is, can I heal my heart? I've stopped smoking weed, barely drink caffeine. I eat pretty clean. Do you have any advice, or have you worked with anyone dealing with this? I'm 29. Don't want any med, surgery, or pacemaker. I want the natural route. These episodes happen every 1 to 3 months. A hiccup usually triggers it. Bending over or jumping. Thank you. Okay. So for people who don't know what Lauren's speaking about here, an SVT is called a supraventricular tachycardia. It's essentially, just the easiest way to say it is that it's an irregular heart rate and kind of a little flutter, which is not ideal, and it can increase. And so we want to make sure that Lauren obviously stays safe. So the one thing I can recommend, and I think that this is really important, is that we balance the electrolytes. So that's really important. So again, first let me give you my disclaimer. I can't provide any medical advice, medical treatment plans, medical cures, or medical diagnosis. But we often look at an SVT as stress on the heart. So again, no medical advice. We start slowly and we add more magnesium. Then we add higher potassium foods, not potassium supplements, but higher potassium foods, avocado, bananas, etc. You can see all the different high potassium foods. We are reducing stress. We are laying off alcohol and caffeine, right? That can also push you to the sympathetic nervous system. We are improving overall exercise and fitness, but not overdoing in terms of high intensity interval training. Working on meditation, relaxation, using potentially things like omega-3s as well as adrenal soothe, and overall calming the body. And yes, I have seen this improve. Believe it or not, when I was 22 years old, I've shared this story before, and I don't want to take up everybody's time here today, but I had to literally leave work in this gym I was at 22, walked to the subway, took the subway to Mass General Hospital, went in the emergency room. They looked at me. I must have looked horrifying. My heart rate was like 180 beats or more per minute. And I was like about to pass out. And they took me in. I said, literally, I have no idea what's going on with me. My heart's going a million miles an hour. Diagnosed me with a supraventricular tachycardia. And they gave me a specific type of medication to bring it down. Waited 20 minutes, still didn't bring it down. Gave me more. Finally, it came down. All right. So here's the issue, though. I had never really started drinking coffee. I drank coffee. Coffee didn't give me an SVT. But I was using a product that contained ephedrine back in the day. It's no longer even allowed. It's an herb. It's like an extract of mawhung. And I was using that a practitioner gave me to help with my adrenals. Now, would it help with your adrenals? No, it would exhaust your adrenals even more, but it gives you energy in the moment because it speeds up the heart rate. It puts you in the sympathetic nervous system. Again, I went through a lot of practitioners to find the right one, but there's an example of an SVT. Now, what I'm sharing with you are different things that can also help it for the long term, and we, of course, wish you all the best. All right, Marlise is up next. She says, I'm 5'7", weigh 124 pounds, recently diagnosed with a 40 millimeter ascending aortic aneurysm, found through a scan, exercise regularly, eat a mostly clean diet, don't smoke, have low cholesterol, low blood pressure. I haven't been able to find anything on what I can do to help this besides surgery. And I'm wondering if you have any suggestions. Thank you much, Dr. Cabral. Okay, so it's great that you shared all that. So a 40 millimeter aortic aneurysm around the heart is basically a moderate size. Usually surgery is recommended when you get to another like 10 or 15 or 20 or so millimeters. Millimeters are obviously very small, but it matters, right? Because we don't want that big blockage or anything like that. So typically the recommendations are make sure you lower your cholesterol. Make sure you lower your blood pressure, like no doubt about it. Using things like omega-3s again, adding a more Mediterranean-based diet, exercising, moving your body, but be careful of doing anything overly strenuous. Other recommendations on this are, well, you're doing a lot of these, increasing your fiber, increasing things like, believe it or not, cruciferous vegetables, oats are very important. Well, oats can be great if you have cholesterol-based issues, but you don't seem to have an issue there. And then other things that can be helpful is anything that's anti-inflammatory or helps with overall detoxification. So what could be a good one? CoQ10, great for the heart. Hawthorn can be great for the heart. So these are all really great. And then just a couple more, and actually I could recommend this for Lauren as well, is vagal nerve stimulation, relaxing the central nervous system. So it could be anything from like meditating with humming. I have a podcast on this. It can be on relaxation-based resonance breathing. It can be using a vagal nerve stimulator on the outside of the ear to calm the nervous system. But all of these are extremely important and very, very helpful. So hopefully that was helpful. And again, we wish you all the best as well. Continue to monitor it. Make sure that it does not get worse. And we hope with, again, doing all those great anti-inflammatory things, reducing stress, that you will be able to clear that. All right. Next up and last question of the day is from Lindsay. Lindsay says, hi, Dr. Wall. Thanks for all you do. My mom has neuropathy in her legs. She's pre-diabetic. Any advice on what she should be doing or taking? She also has sleeping issues, gets about 4 hours a night. I'm sure that doesn't help. Yes, you're right, Lindsay. Getting 4 hours a night is not going to help because we know that people get less than six or less hours per night. Have higher levels of fasting glucose. So first and foremost, we do want to fix the sleep. There's no doubt about that. What I'd recommend, honestly, if you can get her to read The Rain Barrel Effect, that's what we need to do because it's not one thing. As I said in the beginning of the show, there's no silver bullet. So we need to work on our diet, right? It has to improve. Improve fiber, balance protein, reduce the processed carbs. Okay. So we're working on diet. We need to get moving the body. That's exercise. So I talk about all this, of course, the Rain Barrel Effect. She may need to just start walking, right? Exercise, stress reduction, toxin removal, Rest, that's the sleep protocols. Emotional-based balance, scientifically backed supplements, because we can help with blood sugar levels, healthy levels of blood sugar. And then the success mindset to make sure that you see it through. So Lindsay, of course, just like I've shared it with others, we wish you all the best. This can be fixed. It really can. All of this can be fixed within 3 to 6 months' time. It really can. I just want you to understand that anything that anyone is dealing with, we try to catch it early. We find out what the underlying root causes are. What are the deficiencies? What are the toxicities? Lindsay, have your mom run the Big 5, or at least the vitamin tox test starter kit. And then you have a plan developed for you, and you can begin to get to work and start seeing the results in as little as 3 weeks, and most likely help to clear these things up in 3 to 6 months. So hopefully today's show was helpful. I will be back tomorrow with a brand new house call answering the rest of the questions from this weekend. Take care, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.